Aelin Scylla Lumen Omentiovo. Today I bring to you the legend of Mablung, the Heavy Hand. Mablung, whose name means heavy hand in Sindarin, was a lord of the Sindar serving King Thingol in the First Age. While it is unknown when and where Mablung was born, it is likely that he was born before the creation of Doriath. It is also likely that Mablung fought in the First Battle of Beleriand, though that is unknown. After the rising of the sun and the moon and the coming of the Noldor into northern Beleriand, Thingol would choose Mablung and Dairon as his two ambassadors to the Noldor during the Marath Adarthad. When word reached Thingol of the kinslain at Alcalonde, he secluded Doriath from the rest of Beleriand. Thus, none of the Sindar participated in the Dagor Aglareb or the Dagor Bragalach. In the year 466, Carcharoth, the greatest wolf of Morgoth, ran wild in Doriath, for the beast ate the Silmaril that Beren, son of Barahir, and Luthien, the daughter of Thingol, had stolen for Thingol. Thingol thus gathered his greatest hunters, Beren, Mablung, and Beleg, with Huon the Hound of Valinor, and set off after the wolf. The party tracked Carcharoth to the river Escalduin. There the wolf evaded them, before springing upon the party and slaying Beren and mortally wounding Huon, before Carcharoth perished. Mablung would cut open the belly of Carcharoth, and he would see Beren's hand still clutching the Silmaril. As he reached for the jewel, the hand disintegrated, and Mablung would give the jewel to Beren before Beren died. With the success of the quest for the Silmaril, hope spread amongst the elves, and Maithros, the eldest of Feanor's sons, began to gather forces for war against Morgoth. When word came to Doriath, Thingol, still angered by the Feanorians for their evil deeds, would refuse to join them. But Mablung and Beleg would not sit idly by while these events unfolded. With the leave of Thingol, Mablung and Beleg would join Fingon's section of the host, as the two elves still obeyed Thingol's orders to not fight alongside the Feanorians. The Nirnaeth Arnoediad was an utter disaster for the free peoples. Many kingdoms fell, and elves and men became thralls and refugees fleeing the north. One such refugee was Turin, son of Hurin, and he became the foster son of Thingol and Melion. Years passed, and when Turin was a full-grown man, he and the elf Cyros came into conflict. Turin unintentionally took Cyros's chair one evening, causing Cyros to insult Turin's mother. Turin in turn threw a cup in Cyros's face. Mablung, seeing these events, scolded Cyros, quote, "What ails you tonight? For this evil I hold you to blame, and maybe the king's law will judge a broken mouth a just return for your taunting." End quote. The following day, Mablung would see Turin chasing Cyros, and he would watch Cyros jump into the river. Mablung tried in vain to convince Turin to return to Menegroth and await Thingol's judgment, but Turin would flee instead. Upon Thingol's return to Menegroth, Mablung would speak of all that he knew of Turin's flight. Thingol would eventually pardon Turin of all wrongdoing. Years later, Turin's mother and sister Morwen and Nienor arrived in Doriath, and when it was learned Turin was in Nargothrond before the kingdom's fall, Thingol would send Mablung to investigate and to keep Morwen safe. On the journey to Nargothrond, Nienor secretly joined them. Upon arriving, Mablung ordered Morwen and Nienor to remain upon Amon Ethir while he entered Nargothrond secretly. But Glaurung the dragon was aware of them, and he would send vapors across the river, scattering the company and bewitching Nienor into forgetfulness. Mablung would enter into Nargothrond, but would not find Hurin nor any survivors, and so he departed, not before hearing Glaurung mock him, telling him to return to Amon Ethir. There he saw what became of Nienor, and he was dismayed. He took her by the hand and led her down the hill on a long journey to Doriath, and they came upon some of the scattered company along the way. They would be accosted by orcs, and Nienor would flee, outrunning elves and orcs. Mablung and his company slew the orcs and searched in vain for Nienor. Mablung returned to Doriath and soon again departed, looking desperately for any sign, trace, or rumor of Morwen or Nienor. For 3 long years he searched, when he suddenly learned that Glaurung was on the move, making for Brethil. Mablung made haste for the Mannish realm, but arrived too late, for Glaurung was already dead, killed by Hurin himself. Mablung was soon confused by Hurin's words about Nienor, and he guessed that some fell evil came upon them. Hurin would run off and slay himself, and Mablung and his company would bury him, making a grave for him and Nienor, who had jumped into the river. With his quest once more ending in failure, Mablung returned to Doriath. In the year 603, Thingol and hired dwarven smiths would merge the Silmaril with the Nauglamir. The dwarves in their greed killed Thingol and fled, but many were slain and the Silmaril recovered. But the girdle of Melian was broken, for in her grief Melian could no longer maintain the barrier. She would advise Mablung to send word to Beren and Luthien, and to fortify Menegroth. Not long after, the dwarves of Nogrod, whose smiths it was who were slain, attacked, and the battle of the 1,000 Caves began. The Sindar fought valiantly, but were soon overwhelmed by the dwarves. Mablung defended the treasure room of Menegroth, and he withstood the dwarves for some time, but in the end he would be slain. He was avenged, though, for Beren received his message and ambushed the dwarves, defeating them in battle. And so ends the legend of Mablung. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, feel free to like and subscribe for more content, and please let me know how I can better improve these videos. Thanks, and as the elves say, Namarie.